On the latest wrap, check out a much happier panel as we pick very many positives out of the Scotland game, both under 20s and seniors, and the URC is back. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Wrap. As ever, it's me, Harley, in the hot seat, and I'm joined by the usual crew of Hattie, Nick, and Dan. How are we all doing, folks?
Yeah, all good, thank you.
Good, thanks.
Ooh, it's Monday.
Yay!
It's a Monday.
It's the dawn of a new week where, we can be full of optimism. It's the best day of the week if you're a scientist. With Friday being the worst, because that's usually when you realised all your experiments have failed. Right, anyway, so lots to get through. So we'll start off with Drink of the Week, which is, as ever, sponsored by Beer 52, the UK's premier beer subscription service. And if you fancied getting your hands on a free case of beer, as has been on offer all the way through the Six Nations, why don't you go to beer52/wrap? That's beer52/WRRAP and pick up just pay your postage and get 8 free cans. They've got lots of things, pills, various different pilsners, porters, lagers, all from all around the world. They pick a different city each month, and they go through, and you get some lovely tasters. If you're not too into your porters and your darker beers, there is a light only option. And also, because responsible drinking involves eating, it's making sure you have some food. They've got some lovely snack options and a bit of reading material as well. So, just a reminder, that's beer52.com/WRRAP, and to check out more. Right, so what drinks does everyone have today, or has it been that much of a Monday we've all forgotten?
I have one. I've got the. Actually, I don't know how to pronounce this, but it's the
Yeah,
the bunny one.
Yeah.
It's hoppy. It's what I'm gonna say. Keep that nice and brief.
Oh
Excellent.
no, we dropped the ball here, haven't we? Because I've got the bunny one as well.
I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like Simcoe Mosaic Equinox. Is that right? Burrow.
Simcoe Mosaic Equinox, yeah. Pale ale.
Yeah, it's really nice. I think both me and Zach have had that one on the pod.
Yeah.
Well, Mac, yeah. So as I said, unfortunately, Beer 52 did give us the same 8. So now
we're having to rotate.
There's a bit of rotation. So another one we've had before is Carlos Worldwide New Zealand Pilsner. I believe, Nick, you had this on the first week, and do you know what? It's really nice.
Yeah, it's good.
So it's, very much, very smooth, crisp Pilsner. Nick, what have you got?
I think I got a Citra Cigas. It's very strong, actually. It's 6.5%, full-bodied. It's got a bit of an aftertaste as well. I'm not saying it's my favourite, I'll be honest, but I'm sure a lot of people would enjoy it.
I will say I've just put some lip balm on, which is Percy Pig flavoured, and it actually goes very well with the bunny one. So if you want a nice pairing.
Yep. As we all know, it's very important to pair your beers with your lipstick.
With your lip balm, yeah.
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 Right, so that's it. That's the drink of the week out of the way. So Nick, moving on to news desk. A fair few things have come out over the day.
I think it was last week. It was announced that Wales will actually be playing their first game of the inaugural Nations Championship, and they've got to travel all the way down the road to Cardiff City Stadium to play Fiji. And it's worth emphasising this is World Rugby, and the Fiji Rugby Union, how much say they've had in that on wonders, have had to play their home games in inverted commas in Europe. And they're playing England, I think, in Manchester, but they start off with us in Cardiff. So, and Wales' other 2 games, I think, have been announced today as well. They will then travel to San Juan to play Argentina a week later, before finishing off with a daunting visit to Durban on the 18th of July to face the world champions.
Yeah, maximise that jet lag.
Well, at least they only have to go down the road for one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, a bit of a thing on this one, because it is mad. I get why they wanted Fiji to have a home base, because they're not sure about how well Suva is, even though it seems a lot better than it used to be. But the original talk was having it in South Africa, which kind of made sense because people, the European teams are traveling. But it's the fact that it's not one stadium. They're going to play Scotland in Scotland. The Northern Hemisphere have just effectively cheesed an extra home game.
Yeah, I think if they'd picked like, say for example, they picked a place where there happens to be a large Fijian
Yeah.
population, I would have been like, oh, okay. I know, for example, with like the Oceania Championships, the women's tournament, they play a lot of the games in Australia because that's where a lot of the populations live, and there's a lot of they get bigger crowds there, and it's less travel for the teams to be based in Australia than it is to travel to all the different islands. That would have made sense to me, but yeah, it's just an extra home game for Wales, England, and Scotland. Although I don't know in Liverpool, will it be a home game for England?
Mhm.
Mm.
Sorry, Liverpool, yeah, not Manchester. Sorry,
Yeah.
apologies. Right,
Well,
moving
Manchester
on
would have made
anyway.
sense as there's a pro rugby side there.
Yeah, just have it in the Everton Stadium. That makes sense.
Right, okay. Scarlets have confirmed, I think people, it doesn't come as a surprise, that South African hooker Manus van der Meer will be leaving the club at the end of the season to join the Irish province Munster. And he's been, I know, played very well for the Scarlets. Probably reflects what Welsh Rugby is regard funding as well,
Mm.
uncertainty over funding moving forward. So I guess you can't blame him. But Hattie, anything you want to add? I know you got a couple of young hookers coming through.
Yeah, it's just a bit naff. Like I've kind of talked about it a bit with some of our other positions where we haven't had necessarily senior players able to support the younger players. Obviously, we've got Ryan Elias, but it just would have been nice to have been able to keep one of our players who kind of hit the headlines whilst playing for the Scarlets and actually keep them for once instead of him going off. But
Munster again.
Munster again. Ugh, just rude.
Okay, and the last thing I've got on the news front, and I'm sure everybody's aware, that has been confirmed by yesterday by the Welsh Rugby Union, that there will be an extraordinary general meeting. And one of the things, obviously, will be a vote of no confidence in the existing chair, Richard Collier-Keywood. And no exact date is yet to be set, but within the rules and regulations, the articles, if you like, the rugby union has 7 weeks to stage the event. It's been widely reported that it will be held in late March or early April after the men's senior Six Nations. And I guess watch this space. I'm sure lots might hear happen between now and then around this. But yeah, I don't know if anybody wants to comment on that either.
Well, it's just another day at the circus, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. Because I was open last week or the week before about calling for some resignations based on the fact, the final straw for me was the fact they couldn't fill this national stadium for sort of France Wales. So I don't know. Does it not feel like we're on a hamster wheel? And I've seen some articles published today by Wales Online that the ex First Minister Carwyn Jones is a possibility to replace him. Is that a good thing for us? Do we want politicians in that role? I don't know. We need someone to go out and be dynamic and do what's best for Welsh rugby, not necessarily what's best for the for the overall purse at the moment. I don't know. I just find it. You get the point where it's dragged on and on and on. You go, you know what? The apathy starts to kick in, and are we really that bothered? I suppose if you're an Osprey supporter, well, and for us lot on here, really, because we've been big advocates of keeping four, then we're hoping that the case will be that we're able to keep four regions and allow that pathway to continue. I thought, and we'll touch on the 20s earlier on, but there's clearly plenty of talent in Wales. It just needs that. Some of those boys are going to need opportunity. and maybe that's and we've discussed time after time, and we that pathway and putting the talent in the right place to allow them to have that opportunity is the biggest sticking point for me, not whether we go 3 regions, 4 regions, 5 regions, 2 regions, whatever it may be. It's getting that pathway right. But ultimately, if you get it right, you're going to need more places for those players to have exposure, because we'll have more players coming through.
Mm.
So yeah, let's watch this space. Let's see what happens. But
Yeah, sure.
colour me dubious, I suppose. What do you want, Nick, as an
Well, I
O's
think
fan? What would you like to
I,
see?
I think for me, what's been disappointing about the whole process, my biggest issue is that I feel like, want of better words, skullduggery. That it's all been done behind sort of closed doors, with Y11 in cahoots with the Wet Rugby Union, Rich Coddy Keyword. If there'd been a fair, robust process with set criteria, and at the end of that process, you know it's been proven that to do other things, there's only can be 3 professional teams. But I agree with your point, Dan. If we get the pathways right, where these boys and girls going to play, we haven't got. We're reducing one of the, certainly in the boys' case, the men's, a senior team. But even so, even if it was down to 3, I could come to terms with it better, that a process has been followed, and the Ospreys, unfortunately, the team that have to go. Obviously, I still would not be happy, but at least I could understand it better. What I don't like that is the way it's been handled, and I don't think that's fair. And yeah, so I suppose anything from my point of view that will sort of hinder that process, I'm supportive of. But I understand what you're saying as well, Dan.
Yeah, it's that transparency element that we've spoken about time after time, isn't it? Like they announced a few weeks ago that the Principality would be staying on as the main stadium sponsor. We're still none the wiser as to how much that's brought in, and it's just the tip of the iceberg, really.
Mm.
And again, I was looking at the 20s the other day, and not to digress too much, but I think it's crying out for someone to sort of almost unleash these 20s from a union perspective, and almost like a draft style basis.
Mm-hmm.
On a For me, it would make sense that those players go where those positions are most needed. Like for example, the Dragons are crying out for a fly half.
Mm.
If Tina's goes, so what fly halves are coming through the 20s that need to go and play rugby to give them that exposure? There's no point in sticking them at Cardiff, for example, where they've got Sheedy, they've got Lloyd, they've got other people coming through. It's the same with the Ospreys and Locks. It's the running joke, isn't it? Therefore we need to be doing, and they seem like simple fixes for me.
And the thing is, the WRU have already done that. They've done it with the women's sides where they divvied those up. So why
Yeah.
not do it for the men?
And I've got to the point now that, because I suppose, I'm going to probably lose my team completely, that I would almost settle as to be a development team on less money than the other 3. And we're seen as an opportunity for these youngsters we're referring to come and play, or and have sort of more flexible loan facilities. So if you have got 2 hookers and you're down to 1 hooker, that you approach another team and they come out for a 2-month loan, that sort of thing. So, but there we are. We'll see what happens. That's the end of the news, anyway.
There's one more bit of news, but
go on.
Oh, sorry.
Go on, Dan. You finish.
No, I was just going to say, do you think that that's what we've been missing in terms of development? Is that you've got a development team, for example, if the O's stay, do you think that's what we've been missing to bridge that gap? Because the SRC, formerly the Premiership, hasn't done it. So do you think that if we had like an under-25s team, for example, that was, the criteria being you had to be a Wales 20 international, playing in it, and then, sprinkle it with the likes of Dan Lydiate and your Josh Turnbulls that were just finishing on their way down. So you have the sort of over 33s and under 25s. I wonder whether that would bridge the gap for us, because they'd be getting that exposure week in, week out.
Well,
I don't
well,
know is the answer. So
no, I don't know, but I think would be worth exploring because I don't see necessarily massive demand to increase the funding for SRC teams because there
mm,
is such a gap, whereas this would provide something possibly in between. Uh, but there we are. We'll see what how it pans out.
yeah, yeah, we'll see.
My issue with having it as a sort of development team, sort of in the main URC, is what happens when these players are rooted to the if these players are rooted to the bottom, then it's
Hmm.
a bit of a, and I think the SRC, you've got to remember it's still only 2 seasons in, and I think they're still trying to work out the kinks with whatever's going through. Like a lot of people are praising Cardiff because a lot of those under 20s boys have been playing for the Rags. This
Do you
season.
think do you think it's easier for Cardiff though because it's effectively and this is
I,
not knocking Cardiff because it's effectively their second team because it's
yeah,
the only club in the region.
I do.
I do think that's a big fair point. I mean, I know Bridgen's full of quite a few ex-Cardiff academy players, so that's one of the things the SLC has done is try and capture those taken out of the academy. But I mean, other teams are doing it. So I know obviously Pontypool and Newport obviously have had a fair few of the Dragons boys.
Yeah.
The Scarlets is really it's pretty much split between Quins and Llandovery. The Ospreys are sending out quite a fair few to their four clubs in this season. I think it could be mandated to be a bit better than that.
Does it
Yeah.
need to be
So
more of an equal split then, do you reckon, in terms
yeah,
of teams in that SRC? So you either have 8 or 12. So it's either
yeah.
two per area or three.
Well, because I
Yeah, I
think
think
originally it was going to be eight, and the idea was two per.
I think, yeah.
And then they went, oh, hang on, we need RGC in here, and then that got them up to 9, and then they went, I think so maybe a 12-team league would be better. I think there's some things you can do as well, like with the SRC Cup, maybe you make that more. So like Cardiff basically throw that because that's where you see basically the under 18s. The under 18s tend to play in that as opposed to the under 20s. I mean, I don't know. I'm not rugby development is my area of expertise, but there is definitely more that we could do to it. I think, but I think we've also got to be fairly patient with it as it is a fledgling league,
Yeah,
and
I
it's going
don't
to take.
disagree with that. It's just a topic of pub conversation, I
Yeah,
suppose. The
I
one
think the
thing,
important thing for it is, unlike with the Premiership, where it was sort of neither here nor there, the SRC is fully in the performance bracket, performance
yeah,
sport bracket, not the
mm,
not the community game.
yeah,
So that's I said get better, but development. I think Wales A. I keep saying this. I think Wales A fixtures would be important, and even if it's not doing like a full under 23s Six Nations or whatever, it's just saying like during the autumn internationals when the likes of your Polands and your Swedens and teams like this, they just want a game.
Hmm.
yeah. But they've
Why
all
not?
played now anyway, haven't they? The A's have all played each other over recent weeks.
Yeah, I mean all the Six Nations A's have, but why not? I mean, said if you just want to do that or in the summer tour, I think as
Yeah,
well maybe now once in a while just accept have one game, not make if we're putting a lot more money focus on the stadium getting its money from other events, why not make that fourth international an A game
And have it somewhere
and
else.
have it somewhere else, use it for even if you had it at the stadium, use it for development,
Mm.
because at least even if they cock up and lose, it's not going to affect your world rankings anymore, and you're just a
yeah,
way to sort that out. But I said the last bit of news, sorry, Nick, is Wales squad, which takes us into sort of the game then. So Wales have in a what is a huge U-turn compared to the previous few years. They've released quite a few players back to the regions. Unfortunately, Rhys Davis picked up a knock in training, so he's been released back to the Ospreys on that account. But otherwise, we've got Belcher, Grady, and Ben Thomas going back to Cardiff. Dees, Ruben Morgan, Williams, and Gareth Thomas and Owen Watkins all go into the Ospreys, with most of them not having played really. Or Dees only playing the first game. And then McLeod and Tom Rogers are going back to the Scarlets again, having played very little rugby. So it's good to see them. Obviously, no Dragons released because both of their players, they may only have 2 players in the squad, but they are integral players to the squad at this point. So, quality, not quantity, they're done. I think
yeah.
everyone happy with that. I
Absolutely.
don't think there's anyone really who you'd expect to be released.
no.
Everyone else has had a fair few minutes. I'll be
Mm.
honest,
Yeah,
actually slightly. Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have someone like James Botham, but then again, I wasn't expecting him to play last weekend, so I'm seeing I'll play
yeah.
anything.
I suppose just to tag on to that little bit of news, if you don't mind, from the Dragons' perspective, that's just sort of reminded me is that Sibo Glimani has come a cropper for the Dragons as well. The injury curse
No.
continues, whereby we've lost Rob Hunt, and it looks like Sibo's had surgery as well on a foot injury.
Oh yeah, saw that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it was only the Dragons being mentioned then, Nick, that sort of I
Yeah.
put it at the back of my mind. I put it in that little box, not to worry about it. But very unfortunate for the Dragons, considering Benetton are coming to town on Saturday. So let's hope that Dylan Lewis is back. Because otherwise we go from having a fairly solid scrum, I would, and a good set piece over recent weeks to starting to struggle again.
Yeah. You don't end up in the curse situation we've got when Wyn Jones having to go do time on the tight head again.
No, well, I'm hoping that, if it's not Dylan Lewis, we don't know and this is the problem again, and with the sort of comms coming out, we don't know where Chrissy Coleman is, whether he's the answer or not, I don't know. But other than that, we're sort of sliding right down the ladder. It's the luck that when your luck's down, your luck's down and out, isn't there? And I think everyone, you look at Sam Costello now going out this weekend. So, speedy recovery to Sibo, and hopefully, I can't see him being back before the end of the season, but hopefully we'll be okay and have a little bit of good fortune with someone like Dylan Lewis coming back into the fray for the weekend. So, yeah, that's the last bit of home news that I got, I suppose.
In that case, then, do we want to tackle the under-20s or the seniors first?
Don't mind.
Oh, surprise me, Harley. Keep me on the edge of my seat.
Oof,
Yeah.
well, in this 50-50, as I toss this imaginary coin, as I've got that page up first, we'll go with the senior side. So Wales men fell agonisingly close, 23-26 defeat to Scotland on Saturday. I'm going to just open the floor up with this now. I'm actually pleased that I was disappointed we lost that, because actually thinking we had a chance for the first time in a long time actually gave me some hope. Now, I know we can talk about all the problems, and I know one swallow doesn't make the summer, but it was so refreshing for us to have been in the game and in control for pretty much the majority of it. And, just snatching defeat from the jaws of victory is a welcome change from getting completely blown out of the water and, unlike the last few Scotland games, clawing it back at the end. So, folks, who wants to speak first on this one?
Go on, I'll go first. Just to add to that, I thought it was definitely a much improved performance, but we were only playing up until the weekend the ninth best team in the world, and we were 11th. So, we weren't playing France. I know that's an obvious statement, and I think the score reflected that. There were positives in the game. Again, we built on our improved set piece. That was was strong. Certainly, the scrum was good until the final quarter. The line, I think, was 100%. And again, our discipline was pretty good until the last sort of 10, 15 minutes as well. I thought the starting front row were very good, not only in the tight, and I think Carey and Dewi really played very well, carrying really aggressively over the gain line. And Nicky Smith did well when he came on as well, winning a turnover and some dominant tackles. Nothing against Plumtree, because I think he'd actually started the game really, really well. But I think as we've said before, the back row was better balanced when Plumtree went off, unfortunately, with an injury. But I think I like the back row balance with both of them coming on as a 7. He's a really physical guy as well. And it's what we've been asking for, I think. Somebody with the physicality and somebody a threat over the ball. So I thought the pack went well. I thought that we gave us some good go forward ball. Costello played well. I think for me, unfortunately he was injured, but he kicked well. He passed really accurately, and with a bit of front football, he looked the part. Yeah. As I say, in the end, I said to somebody at half time, I actually went out for once to watch it, and the pub. I was really pleased. I knew we weren't going to win. Well, that's just being me pessimistic. And it's a bit like Dan's point about when your luck's down. My point is going to be more that when you're not playing well, you find a way to lose. When you're a poorish team, you find a way to lose. When you're a good team, you find a way to win. And I think Scotland's class in the backs in particular came to the fore in the second half. They'd spurned a few chances. I know perhaps people might want to talk about the complete cock up on the kick-off, but you can't say Scotland by the end of the game didn't deserve to win. You're not going to win many games of rugby when you concede 4 tries, and that was better, of course, but we still look quite easy to in the centre. Our defensive, we're not organised there, although it was better, certainly in the first half, but we still got carved up a few times. And yeah, 4 tries to 2. You're not going to win many games either like that. We could have probably won it in the end, but yeah, we didn't again. Yeah, I don't think I can add much more really. It was a performance show promise, but we need to back that up again now with another couple of good performances. Whether we win or not is another thing, but we've got to build on these performances, and that's the most encouraging performance I've seen under Tandy. Well, really, but I'll leave it to you other guys to comment.
I thought Sammy did really, really well. I think after he went off injured, we really, really plummeted. I believe it was like just after he went off that we conceded that try. Obviously, that's not up to him. He was playing 10, but it was like, oh, we've had this moment and now everything's going directly downhill. And it went downhill pretty fast after that, I felt. It wasn't just him. I think the organisation after, like, for that Darcy Graham try and then afterwards was just appalling. Everything that went well in the first half just seemed to disappear. It was just really, really frustrating. For me, the worst part of the game is that there were certain players who just weren't seeming to put the same amount of effort in that some of the others were. We've talked a lot about Louis Sam at 15, and I think I've made it pretty clear that it's not my favourite. And I think for me, defensively, he can make the tackles, but sometimes it just looked like he wasn't really bothered about making them. And it just made us quite passive. I'm really frustrated with that game. I think I'm more frustrated with that game than I have been any of the other losses because we were doing so well and then there was just this drop off. And a lot of it was just effort and organisation rather than skill or game management.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's kind of my point, is that I was actually quite pleasing to be disappointed and frustrated with it because, it was, an improvement in actually us being in the game, which, as Nick pointed out, it was 11th playing 9th. It should be a contest. And I think games in the past it hasn't been. So that was quite pleasing. Yeah, and I think Nick was right as well. The back row balance just works better with both them, Man and Wainwright. I know neither of them are archetypical of their position, but I feel they complement each other so well that you get that balance. And I've said time and again, James Botham may not be as good or as talented as Jack Morgan, but what you have is a player with a similar skill set. And if you want to build a game plan around having a Jack Morgan in your team, pick a 7 who plays a bit like Jack Morgan, someone who is abrasive, someone who is good over the turnover, someone who makes his tackles and has that physicality.
And I think with Botham as well, the amount of effort he put in and just doing something from like he was constantly like trying to be the fastest to get to the next route, trying to be like just trying so hard. And obviously part of that would have been the fact that he came off the bench a lot earlier, but I think that's also his personality. I just think he put in such a massive shift. Um, so yeah, again,
Yeah.
annoying when compared to a certain fullback. Not that I'm singling him out, but I am.
Got slightly different views of his amateur of his best game, but still got the most meters than any other fullback other than Ramos. He's as good as any other fullback playing in the rest of the other teams. Just a real big shout out. You've made the point already, Harley. I thought Carter was immense. First start in the Six Nations, 25-year-old, 19th cap. He was excellent and brought that. We've been asking for balance in the second row. And Dad Jenkins is starting to look for the real part now, isn't he? He's only 23, but he's got 29 caps. And absolutely, Adam Wainwright was just absolutely immense. Wonderful player.
Yeah, just to touch on that, I agree. In terms of Ben Carter now, 22 tackles, I think it was 3 or 4 dominant. I think the highest in the game was it for Ben. 4 or 5 carries as well. I think we're seeing something this we're not used to seeing from a second row partnership. Dav Jenkins' work rate, I think, was otherworldly at times. We go on about effort levels. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. I thought Dewi Lake had his best game for a while. Um, and I tell you what was really Costello obviously come in and made a difference, but I tell you what I was really impressed with was Eddie James.
Mm.
Post contact meters was superb. We had the question last week from Martin, I believe it was, saying how do you get him into the game? Oh well, they did, um, and he was fantastic. I just sort of throw a bit of a grenade in on the Louis Rees-Zammit thing, I suppose, in that I kind of agree with both of you. I think from Nick's perspective, I think he's right. Most as soon as he gets the ball, he's capable of making meters. But I wonder whether he would do that on the wing as well. For me, it's when we haven't got the ball. That's a bit of a problem. I don't think he closes hard enough on that far edge. But it's new to him, so
Mm.
he's learning. But I don't know. Is it
But
you want
is
him on the ball
effort
soon?
something that you learn?
Well, I wonder whether he's got too much of a panic on. Maybe I think he's getting a little bit caught in no man's land, as in right. I need to stay sort of
Mm.
on ball a little bit more, or stay inside the ball just in case it's kicked into that chip zone? Is he comfortable sort of managing? It's backfield management, isn't it?
Mm.
That's a skill in itself as a fullback, being able to manage that sort of backfield area, but then also being able to cover. I'm assuming they're working on a pendulum, so if the ball's on the one side, you'll have the fullback covering across, and the other winger coming back in, and the wingers will pendulum in and out. But I noticed we had Thomas in the backfield a couple of times as well. So I wonder whether it's just a positional thing for Lewis rather than an an effort level. Although he did seem a little bit sulky at times, I suppose, a little bit petulant maybe there. Because he is the superstar in the team, I suppose. But there's no doubt about it. The guy's box office when he got the ball in his hand. So how do you get that balance right as a coaching team? I don't know.
I think it is really hard. I feel like we're missing as well before we move on. One last thing about Louis Summit because I do like to rant about him apparently. I just feel like when he's on the wing, you get to make the most of his acceleration, and his acceleration is one of the things that I think makes a huge difference between him and other very, very fast wingers. Um, he accelerates so quickly, but when he's at fullback, are you really making the most of that?
Yeah, but then
It's like having six in one
mm,
hand and three twos in the other. Like,
I get it. But then I suppose he's getting more touches at fullback, isn't he? And the way they want to try and play, bringing him in at back, it is it's tough to get our balance right. Because I would argue, like from Nick's perspective, who stuck him in the French team instead of Ramos at fullback, how many tries is the guy scoring?
Uh,
probably
not
not
that.
that
I feel
many
like
as you think.
I feel that's a really bad comparison because of how Ramos works in that team. He is effectively the 10. He's the 10
No,
as well as
no, no
Charlie Bear
one,
in
no
that.
one, no when they pull the ball back and he's taking it on the outside of that fourth forward in the
But I
13
also
channel.
don't think that France necessarily have extremely fast fullbacks. I think they would rather have a ball playing 15 than a. They'd just rather stick their ultra speedies on the wing.
I get your point, Dan. I think if you said that with any other team, it I'd be fine. But I think just the way because Tommy Ramos and Charlie Bear will just sort of flick between the two.
Yeah, no, and
In the shape it would work, but I don't think it. I just thought that particular example. The thing with me the thing I find really funny with Lewis Summit is before the Six Nations, there were so many all these pundits and podcasts and things going. Lewis Summit has to play 15. He has to play 15, and we're now 3 games into it, and they're going. I think Lewis Summit would work better on the wing. He'd work better on the. Yeah, I think
because of what he does at the bays, isn't it? Because the shape and the type of game that they play. Like you look at the way, again, going back to France, right? You look at the way they work for tap downs on kick receipt. Now, if the ball's being tapped down to him, because I don't think we're particularly good at that at the moment, if the ball's being tapped down to Louis Rees-Zammit in broken play, it's game over. It's just trying to get him as many touches on the ball in space as possible. But I don't know. I think they're going to persevere with him there.
And I think
in the long term, I have got 2 or 3 actually minor complaints about Saturday, and I'm not one to blame the officiating here, but I'm going to throw.
You're going to blame the officiating on this one, yeah?
No, I'm not. I'm going to throw some points out for discussion, I suppose. And if I throw them all in at once, then we pick the bones out of it. Okay, so Russell's kick-off. Yeah, for me, I'm sure the law states that the opposition players need to be in their own half, or beyond the 10-metre line.
Yeah, they've got to be beyond their 10.
Beyond the 10, and I don't think Hamer Webb was when the ball was kicked. And secondly, there was also a fellow with a high-vis vest running across the field when the ball was kicked. Now, I'm not making an excuse for it because we should have dealt with it as kid stuff. However, it wasn't looked at, and ultimately we've lost by 3, and that was the swing in the game, wasn't it?
We just kicked the penalty before that, didn't we?
And we just kicked, as we
stretched the lead.
Exactly that. Then the other one is, what do we think of Ferguson's maul entry for their try at the end? Because my understanding is he's going to join on the hindmost man, which in that case would be the ball carrier, and then the ball's going to be passed back to him. Not effectively, he's NFL'd it, really, isn't he? He's hit the last man and then swam forward. Is it truck and trailer? Again, these are real technical aspects here. So if there's any referees listening, then
maybe we should contact a friend of the pod, Ben Breakspear.
Friend of the pod, yeah. Give us your 2 penny worth. And the other one, the scrum penalty right at the end when we were chasing the game, and it was the very last penalty of the game. I think we give away a scrum penalty. Why was that Scotland's penalty? Because I thought their hooker lost bind on both props before anything else.
I'll sort of do those in reverse order anyway. One is, I generally don't think most refs know how to referee a scrum. They look for pictures, and I think if their picture is the hooker standing up, they ping that team, right or wrongly. That just seems to be the way of it. The binding the ball, I've given up even calling that because it just seems like the refs just are ignoring it. Same as feeds and scrums, they've just all ignoring it. The kickoff, I get why everyone's trying to make villains out of Hamer Webb and both of them in that one. But you've got to remember, is they just come, as you said, we just kicked a penalty. Those two are chasing for the rebound, which you should do. So they've been a bit caught unawares. But, we shouldn't have switched off, really. It should have been more on it. I think there are more issues in our control that lost us that game.
No, I totally agree. Like our defensive errors are not the referee's fault. The ref doesn't miss attack. I say this to my boys. The ref doesn't get a kick wrong, doesn't do all of these things. But the reason why I found it interesting was because, again, it goes back to my point that when your luck's down, your luck's down.
Yeah.
If that was maybe the other way around, maybe it would have been checked against Wales.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I'm not,
it does.
and I'm not even saying that the ref necessarily got it wrong.
No.
Yeah, I feel like we also got lucky in other things, like the Joe Hawkins tackle that could have been. I think personally, yellow was fair, but
it could have easily have been a red.
It could have been like if it came out as red. I don't think I could have complained too much. But
the boy was being tackled though, wasn't he? On the way down, he was on the way down.
Yeah, do you know, it was so like one or the other, but it quite easily could have gone red
I've
depending
seen
on
them
who the
both go
And I
TMO
crazy,
think,
haven't you?
was.
and I
Yeah.
think in real speed, Hawkins basically sits off. He doesn't.
Mm.
I don't think he's actually initiating the contact, which again is mitigation. As I said, I wouldn't have complained at a red, but I do feel like yellow's right. But one to me, like we're under penalty advantage. Thomas goes in for the proc roll. Now, if there's any player on that pitch who should know they're under penalty advantage, and it doesn't matter if that ball gets stolen, it's the scrum half who stood next to the referee as he's called advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Just leave it. I mean, it does go back to a point, on Josh and Blood Mode podcast said that Thomas has gone a little bit, fuck it, I'll do it myself. In some of these,
Mm.
and not necessarily for the better.
Mm.
I think that was one of those occasions where I think, you know, maybe if Wales were, say we'd won one or the other, or they'd been close games and we got them losing bonus points or whatever, and the pressure wasn't on. Maybe he'd just leave that go.
Yeah,
And,
maybe.
and it's a sort of thing. There's another one. So the first penalty we score on second half and the kickoff, Russell goes in the middle, contest ball, Kinghorn wins it over Zamet, and Zamet is there, could make a tackle, but steps off, lets him run for a little bit, and then that invites the pressure, and then we basically spend the next 5 minutes defending. It's little things like that where I think, and the other. So one thing I do wonder, because it's something that I know Hugh's been banging on about an awful lot, is obviously we kicked 3 penalties and we didn't really even try. We had one tap penalty move and didn't really go for the corner at all after that, or try and use them all. Do you think we should have been a bit braver, or do you think
Yeah.
points are the right call for this one? Bear in mind, you said the way rugby's going now, you kind of need to score 4 tries, or you're probably not going to win the game.
Yeah, I think for me, we had those 2 tries relatively earlier on in the game, and then we just kept going for penalties. I understand keeping the scoreline ticking, I get it, but it got to a point where I was like, why are we kicking for a penalty when momentum wise, we were ahead, we were doing really well, especially there was a carry by I think it was Eddie James around like 30 minutes where he just had so much gain line momentum. And then it was like, oh, well, you've got a penalty. So do you want to go for the corner or do you want to go for post? And we went for post. And I was like, actually, no, we should have gone for the corner there because we had the momentum, we had the swing. Um, yeah, we just kept going for the post. And it was just really frustrating to watch because we really needed to get a try for our own momentum. And we just held ourselves back by going for posts. I think is with Scotland, they have such dangerous outside backs that you can't just say, oh, I'm just going to keep kicking for posts. You know that if you give them an inch, they're going to score. So
I,
just
ju-
very frustrating.
I just thought on that one, the first penalty that Costello kicked, um, that takes them out like to over 2 scores, doesn't it, by
Mm.
kicking that? And what it's meant as well is that we scored last before half time and we've scored the first points. It's like like a bit of a
Psychological.
mental thing as well.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
I, personally, I think that's actually pretty good game management. That first one, the issue was thereafter, we conceded a try from Russell, and it was the Jared Evans penalty. Maybe that it was that time that we should have looked towards the corner,
Mhm.
because whilst it kind of took us ahead again further, and I understand why they did the game management thing, but do you know what? I don't think we'd be having this conversation if someone had caught that kick off and slammed it into Rose Ed on the upper
Yeah.
tier.
But then again, we'd be saying that if there's so many points. As I said, going back to that, if we kick that other penalty with the cock roll, that's a potentially a 10 point swing, because from
And that
that
one, yeah.
they go and you get the thing score, and
You know,
then
and there's
or
another
that
thing though.
scrum. If that scrum,
Yeah,
we just play it
yeah.
out, maybe we get something out from the. Yeah, I mean,
Look, it's
again,
all.
it's nice. It's nice having this as a conversation, to be honest, after the last however many
Yeah,
games of.
I totally agree with you. And look, it's all if buts and maybes. It's not the referee's fault that we lost the game. Could we have had one or two more decisions that, or I don't think it's kicking the corner or kicking pens that have necessarily cost us the game on the whole. I think we were in the game. We did well. It's our best. As a matter of fact, I'd say we played better in this game as well than we did in the 2 wins against Japan.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah,
100%. We were
definitely.
awful in both of those games.
You know, if we played Japan on Saturday and played like this, we'd score 40.
Yeah,
You know, we were. It was a. I, and when you think about it, we've lost to Scotland's best ever team,
yeah,
Mm.
especially in the professional era. So we've lost to arguably Scotland's greatest ever team by 3 points while we're at our lowest ebb, and we're all, you know, talking about how we should have won the game. So, you know, if any of the boys listen to this,
well done.
good on them. I
And
thought,
I think we've just to add to that. I think we're very interesting this fixture in 2 years' time,
yeah,
when our lads will be coming up to mid to late 20s,
yeah,
and their lads will be coming to mid 30s or even retired. I don't, obviously they've got a World Cup in between there.
mm,
Uh, we we've stumbled across a really effective pack, uh, not through good selection necessarily, but those who've taken the opportunity, shown themselves with one or two others who are unfit. I think we've got the makings of a good competitive pack.
yeah. I'd second that. So, you know, and as we're talking about that now, I throw another couple of questions at you into the mix, if you like. Is first of all, do we start with a team that started that? Obviously, Plumtree out, Botham in is what I'm on about because Botham played, and I thought he was outstanding for what it's worth.
Mhm.
And then, because I'm sort of starting to think this, do we think we made those front row replacements too early? So, Carey off, 43 minutes, Lake 55, Thomas Francis 50. Could we have gone to 60 minutes? Would that have made a difference to us having that? Because I thought Reece Carey's ball carrying was
Yeah.
fantastic
I
on the
actually
weekend.
think it was a substitution that was too late. I think Freddie, I's fantastic as both Carter and David Jenkins were playing. I do feel like Freddie Thomas coming in earlier would have helped because if you look at that last 10 minutes, we were conceding so much yardage on more tries
Mm.
due to their more, and I feel like an extra pair of legs. I mean, it didn't help that we lost our back row placement so early,
Yeah, you're right.
but like if we, having that extra impetus in those last 20, I think would have helped match some of that power.
Mm.
I
Because
also think
once you've doing 80 minutes in the boiler room is hard. That's why I can only do about 20.
I think as well. I can't remember who it was. It was either in the rap chat or in the Scottish chat. Somebody said like, "Oh well, who's captain now after Lake went off?" And I think we did miss a bit of captaincy as well after he went off, a bit of leadership. So, but then that's the problem that you have when you have a front rower as your captain.
Yeah,
And
and I
look,
think, and also the fact we've played three games in consecutive weeks, maybe that had an impact. Nicky Smith
But
actually was good when he came on.
yeah,
Yeah,
His
I
stats
think
are good. Uh, Obviously, we struggle a bit tighter, don't we? Archie Griffin hopefully is one for the future, and we could, maybe it wasn't a penalty, and he tackles well, but we did lose a little bit of stability,
mm,
in the front row. But ultimately, Scotland are more used to winning than Wales are, and that showed the way they
mm.
managed the last quarter.
Yeah, and look, I think from a replacements perspective, they're obviously conditioned more specifically now
Mm.
to those sorts of time frames, um, which is, it's obviously a scientific thing. Great. But do you just, I don't know, part of me is just thinking like, with momentum
Yeah.
and people having worldies, do you kind of think like, oh, just give me 5 more?
Keep going.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
I said, I mean, if that was the logic they were using for the second row, maybe for the front row you do give them a little bit more. I didn't think Thomas Francis was dropping his output at all when he got SWAT subbed. I don't know if that's just a case of they felt like that those two front rows would scrummage better together or not.
Maybe.
I think Elias actually is working really well as the substitute for
Mm,
Derry Lake. I don't think it helps if you want to change your things at hooker, but I think if you want continuity, you've got someone
Mm.
who's a big and physical, and you know,
experience as well. I know.
yeah, very experienced. I know he has captained. I know he's not Scarlet's captain, but I know he has
Yeah.
captained Scarlet's. Ben Carter is Dragons captain.
mm.
Has been captain of Dragons, if not I think co-captain officially.
Yeah, officially.
Um, you know,
That's
Thomas Williams
captained.
is captain Gloucester. You know, there are players. I mean, one thing we talk about, Lewis Rees hadn't persevered at 15. I think actually Eddie James persevered at 13. I still think he's better as a 12,
But then I
but I
think,
think his learning curve seems to have been a lot less harsh than whenever we've tried to put a winger into 13.
I,
And I think he's learning,
yeah,
and he's getting the hang of it better.
the interesting thing about Eddie James at 12 versus 13 is that obviously after this week's game, there's been quite a lot of chatter about him online, and there was like a Wales Online article and things like that. And a number of people have said, "Oh, actually, I think we should try him at 12 instead of 13." It's like, yeah, I think we've all decided that, but he's given it a good go at 13. He's just, I think he'd be more useful for us at 12.
Can I just throw one in as well? Do we have a problem at scrum half? Not with Thomas now, but
Yeah.
do we have a lack of quality coming through at 9?
I think
Hardy
so.
and Rubin are solid players. He obviously doesn't, Hardy, did he come on? I don't know if he did.
No,
Did he
he
No,
do?
didn't.
a new
Didn't
sub.
know.
Uh, we got the young Hope at the Dragons. The lads who played 20s, and we're going to go to about the 20. I thought Sean Davis has improved this year and Ian Davis last year, but we're not talking. Your 9 doesn't need to be a big man. It needs to be highly skillful. Hopefully, kick up both feet well. It just seems strange we can't produce better 9s in Wales.
And considering we've had like some of the world's best
Mm.
ever.
I,
Yeah, I mean,
I think
I
it's,
don't think any of the others come through. When you think about how blessed you were half a decade ago, when you had like Webb, peak Webb,
Yeah,
Thomas and Gareth Davis come through, then had Ali Davis, who was all right
yeah,
when he
Or
was
even
called
back
upon.
to Mike, the likes of Mike Phillips and
I
that.
mean,
But
yeah,
yeah.
The
Mike
Mike
Phillips
Phillips Dwayne
Peel.
Peel axis was fantastic. That was that was almost ideal what you want for a pair of halfbacks that you could flip your game plan on a dime.
but maybe this goes back to the original squad selection where you go, well, if you're not going to use either of the other 9s in the squad,
Yeah,
surely that's a selection problem
yeah.
because I thought Hope was gonna sneak in, and maybe would have been an alternative. You imagine how he's lively, he comes on, maybe speed the game up against against a tiring defence. Who knows? But and I suppose when you go back to everything, you're kind of damned if you do, you're damned if you don't as well. And especially as a coach, because you know just edging back to that front row thing. If you don't take those boys off when they did, and they end up missing a tackle because they're knackered in midfield or whatever,
Mm.
just go, oh, why did he take him off? So yeah, but it's a good point on, and Hardy's had less than 10 minutes of rugby, probably all, or
Yeah,
maybe 10 minutes of rugby, all
yeah.
Six Nations. So it's interesting. And the other one, just before we move on, really, I suppose, would be Hamer Webb. Do you think that worked out?
Personally, I don't think it did, other than we've made him Welsh now.
Yeah,
So the players in the squad who were far more deserving of a start, in my view, in his position. We haven't seen anything of Tom Rogers, who was very good against New Zealand.
yeah.
Lee did fine. Uh, but obviously they've seen something in him, but I don't think it really worked. And I'd be surprised if we see him, unless there's injuries, the rest of the Six Nations.
So you kept Duan very quiet, but I mean, not to be too harsh, it's not exactly hard unless you're England. So,
Yeah, yeah,
and I think that's basically that game done to death now. Obviously, no Six Nations games this weekend. We'll go. So we'll preview Ireland next week once we've had the full round of URC. Before we move on to the under 20s, if you are enjoying this podcast, please leave us a comment either under YouTube or on Spotify. Share a link with a friend because it's the fast way to grow and things. If you want something a little bit more niche, so you want to listen to more about the Dragons or Scarlets, or whatever, on this channel, you've got our sister pods, Osprey Side Steps, Dragon's Lair, Cardiff Central, and Osprey's Eerie. In fact, I am actually on Central tomorrow night, so we'll be recording. We also have the SRC podcast, which has been going throughout because their cup competitions going through. And then if you want something, some rugby from on a more international scale, we've got our sister channel, Global Game Line. You've got Scrum of the Earth. Women's Rugby Treehouse is slowly ramping up, ready for the Women's Six Nations to kick off in a month or so's time. We also have the URC Rewind, which is the Six Nations Rewind at the moment. Just then they cover all the games in a bit more detail. There's an American pod that comes out when they're playing. We've got the Interpro show for a more Irish focused perspective, and a bit of an animal for the South Africans. So they're getting their meats. They're getting into some meaty derbies at the moment. What's been asked
And can I just
previously?
add?
Hmm?
Can I get
Oh,
what's the
sorry.
pot lad yet coming out?
We also have
Just to prove that I can speak absolute rubbish in 2 languages. You're more than welcome if you are a learner or Welsh speaker to listen to that as well.
Yes, that the Pod Clumberger is on the WRRAP channel. As put, Nick, who can speak rubbish in 2 languages, as opposed to me, who struggles do it in 1. Anyway, if you want to leave comments, reviews, producer, he's also asked us to say that we are on the Welsh Regional Rugby subreddit now. If you want to chat to us via Reddit, we're also on Blue Sky and sort of
The
still on
Demon
Twitter.
app.
Yeah, we're on the artist formerly known as Twitter and Facebook.
And Instagram.
We also have Instagram and TikTok.
And TikTok.
Although the usage of that depends on how much Hugh's mind has melted of a given day.
So there was some good chat on YouTube last week as well. I thought plenty of people chiming in with some good comments. So there's a good rugby crowd that clearly.
Much like I don't listen to this pod back or anything where I'm recorded because I can't stand my voice. I don't know how anyone else puts up with it, frankly. I don't look at comments. I've basically reduced myself down to Blue Sky, where I'll occasionally post a picture of my child doing something stupid.
Do we just want to have a quick look at 2 quick clips in terms of one thing that we've done well on the weekend and one thing we still got to work on, or do we want to move on?
I think that sounds good.
Yeah.
Apologies for audio listeners. Just skip through about 5 minutes. We'll try and post these clips up on our socials for you, so you can have a look at it when we look. And
kind of based on that as well, we'll keep it short and sweet because I know there's a couple of you driving lorries and whatnot. Okey doke. Can we see the screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I made it extra large as well. Okay, so just for context here, I suppose this is one little clip that I thought where Wales have shown some improvement this week. It's actually a Scotland attacking line out on our 10-meter line, and man gets up particularly well. So we steal the ball, and our first thought, which contrary to other weeks, is to try and get to an edge and try and put our ball into space, even though if you're looking at the top corner, you'll see that we are a man down. So off we go, and we're playing. There's a couple of minutes this clip, good shot, but they concede a penalty coming up now, and this is where we start to get interested now from a Welsh perspective, because this is Thomas Williams for me at his finest. So penalty conceded. We get that edge which stretched him, and he's off and running. Now that's the first time we've seen. I'm just going to pause it there. That's the first time we've seen Thomas, I think, get sort of that front football this sort of tournament, and it shows how explosive he is, and it makes a massive difference for us. And this, as we play it on, shows what Eddie James is capable of as well. He's got a turn of place, big strong boy, takes 2 people to take him down. But the big thing for me is how we're looking to play very quickly. We're not waiting for the scrum half to come and get the ball there. If you notice, Thomas is in the game. Thomas had to win the ruck, sorry. So Dewi's in, and we're playing straight away. There's maybe a bit of a knock on there, but he got away with it. Again, look how quick the ball speed is. And look at the variety straight away from Carter. So we're taking it to the line, we're pulling it back. And what Wales have been guilty of in recent weeks is being narrow and clustered in defence, and we've managed to achieve that to Scotland here straight away. So all of their players are the wrong side of the ball effectively. Why? Because we've had quick ball, and it doesn't give the defence time to set. We carry on playing. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think that could have gone to Wayno there. Rather than the missed pass. If it goes to Wayno, it squares up those 2 defenders. The man on the edge has got to make a decision as to whether to bite in on him or not. Nevertheless, we've got the plum tree, and we're still playing. Nice width. We keep the ball alive. And this is where some of the detail from the boys gets really interesting. So, and quite good.
Can we point out the interesting thing about this bit? We're down to 14 men. and we're
Yeah.
making Scotland look like they're short on numbers.
Yeah, and it's ruck speed, and this is what we haven't had in recent weeks. But there's a little bit of detail here. First of all, it's having someone else being willing to play it scrum half, keep that ball alive, keep taking that defensive line backwards, then play into width because it's trapping people when we were able to trap people near the ruck. And now, if you watch Reece Carey now, and this is a bit of detail that I think that we haven't had in recent weeks, if I just put a line on you, he's not going to carry in, as we think sort of traditionally, in this direction, straight at the heart of the defence. What he's going to do is he's going to carry an outline, so he's going to try and get to those defenders, and it makes such a difference because you're running at weak shoulders, and it's much more difficult to make a tackle, especially if you want to double up on people. So just watch his line around. He's out. How many defenders does he take out of the game there with one pass? So his line of running. Look, if we stop it there,
Yeah.
traditionally you'd maybe going in here. Where is that Ferguson? Yeah. So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 defenders he's taken out with his line of running. Watch the ruck work from the boys. They boost him on, get him straight out there. Look how quick that ball is. Again, look at the little detail on the ruck presentation. Watch how he works to get that ball back, falls to his front, springs backwards. That ball's nice and long. He's in at sort of a 90-degree angle. He's sort of bent in half.
You got both sides open. Then you could have gone. If you look
Got
there, he
both
could have
sides
gone back
open.
blind, couldn't he?
Exactly. But
You
what's
got
the
four
key,
men
Nick?
on the blind side, you see.
It's ruck speed, isn't it? Now they're having to guess. They can't get set. They're not waiting for us. That speed is. We have more variety back inside. Okay, they dominate that tackle, but we don't panic, do we? Try and set our principle again. Out to the edge or towards the edge, and we're looking to play again. Same sort of thing. Look at the variety from he's carrying out. Dav Jenkins is carrying out to start off with, then he tips it on. So we're trapping more defenders on the wrong side of the ball. Great carry from Dewi. But look at Reece Carey's work rate to get him off the ball, and look at Dav Jenkins. This is nowhere we mentioned, your coach is saying like it takes, these are things that take zero skill to get up off the floor. You don't have to be the best rugby player in the world to do this, but his desire to make a difference here, whacks him off the ball, ball's available again, and we're playing. Aaron Wainwright on the outside again, beats a man, we're carrying out, makes a huge difference. Ben Carter, out again. And these little details, and effectively I think we end up earning a penalty here. But if we just zoom him on, there's the penalty, 5 seconds. But that's all because we've been patient. We've recycled the ball well. It's much quicker this week. Our attacks got more variety. And the boys, rather than just running into 2 defenders, they're carrying on out shoulders to make those tackles more difficult to make, attract more defenders and trap more defenders on the wrong side of the ball. So that was a positive for me. And I thought our attack for the first half was very much like that. I don't know what you guys thought, just whilst I zoom through here.
No, it's very good, and it's sort of very good illustration. And what I saw as well, obviously there was some really aggressive carrying, but there was almost somebody coming in to help as well.
Always.
So we've got some better carriers in the team, and we were getting them on the ball more. But then Carter was very good in particular, and just coming in, and I know he's a big boy, he's a strong boy, and he was helping in taking people further past the gain line, and then creating the quick ball.
Yeah, and what that does is when you double up on those collisions, so you're either tackling the tackler or you're sort of hip to hip on your colleague, on your teammate, you're making them a 2v1 collision, which is simple mathematics that two's going to beat one really on most occasions. So that was a real positive for me. If we can keep playing that way, speed a ball, carry out, double up those collisions, we'll score more tries. The variations, the jockeys, attack is good. But this is where I think, and again, I'd be interested to get your sort of viewpoint. I think this is where we still come in unstuck a little bit. So this is where we shape the box, okay? And I mentioned Tomos's box kicking last week. It was a little bit better this week, but let's have a little look at this now, see if I can make the window bigger for this one. Can't I? Yeah, okay, so we looked the box here. Now, where do we want the box kick to go? We want the box kick in the 15, ideally. 6-second hang time, maybe on the 5-metre line again, so we get chasers in in and around the ball. We got our chasers set here, and up the ball goes. Hang time's fine, but look where it lands.
Yeah.
Now, for me, on the commentary, I think Jiffy's saying, it's a great kick, and Hamer Webb makes the tackle. He's quick enough to get it to make the tackle, but you just watch where it allows them because of Van der Merwe's leg drive post contact. Now, the people that were in that spider ruck were Thomas Francis, who's now there, and Ben Carter, who's there, because we've had to split the field because we've obviously now it's a centre field ruck. And what problem does that cause us is in they can attack both sides of the ruck. So we haven't trapped them touchline side because the kick's off. They're able to set a principal midfield. And if you notice what's flowing around the corner, 10, 15, 13, 12, and the winger against 3, 5, and 2 backs. And we're outnumbered. We're soft indeed to start off with. So we're allowing them to have a little run at us. And unfortunately, I think he spots Ben Carter, a little bit of footwork on Eddie. Offload's great. And because we're set with Tom Francis in there, there's no way, love him, that he's ever making that cover tackle, is there? And they're in behind us, and we get away with it. And I think that's one of those sort of conversations that Harley was having, whereby he was saying they probably left a few out there, and that was one thing for me. So that's just one little area really that our box kicking to compete does need to improve. For me, because let's just knock it back here to the kick. If we land the ball on the 5 meter line, see we're doing his here, it's a little bit deep maybe as well, but if it's on the 5 meter line and then he makes the tackle, we can just fill the field wide. We can have everybody in filling that field. So
going back to the point about substitutions,
yeah,
I can't remember when that was. So first half, but trying to
first
close
half,
the game. No, that's first half, isn't it? But close the game off. Hardy is actually quite good at that.
Yeah.
If you had heard that's his go to. That he is a decent kicker off from a defensive sort of spider ruck.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with you, and I think probably is one of Thomas's maybe his weaknesses, because ideally if we get that ball in there on where the X is for those that are not able to watch this, then Hamer Webbs makes that tackle in and around there, and we can just fill the field all the way across, and it allows us to get off the line and defend them on our terms. And then in reality, they're probably going to try and kick it back to us.
Yeah.
Down in that area. So that's probably a little bit of a work on for us, I would have thought, because I got no doubt if you're Andy Farrell and you're watching the way that some of our box kicking goes, you'll be looking to attack from that when we go to Dublin next week. So, yeah, I hope that's not too much video for those that are listening on the thing.
No, it's good.
As I said, we'll try and clip those points up and stick on social, so it's a bit easier.
But our attack was much better because we're winning collisions, we're on the front foot, and I think it's that little variation in the way that we're carrying the ball. But our kicking game is still a little bit, I've seen loads of comments, we're kicking the ball too much and this, that, and the other. Well, it's not necessarily the kicking of the ball, is it? It's the quality of the kick. And if we're going to put ourselves under pressure like we did in that scenario, then we're struggling. Plus, don't forget we're a man down in that scenario as well. So, were we a man down? No, we were back to full complement there. But and we still couldn't fill the field. So there you go. Maybe a couple of work.
I do think sometimes we bugger up who's in the ruck when we do for box kicking. Like we quite often end up with the front row chasing, which isn't ideal. And I think that's
ideally, Harley, you're right. You want front five in there, don't you? We want to try and work at the front five, so you've got back rowers and backs chasing. If you get a kick wrong, as we did there, then the boys that are in the ruck, i.e. Tom Francis and Carter, are going to be the ones filling the space because the back rows are kicked. So it's all about the kick. Go on, move on.
Yeah, let's move on because Wales under-20s also played. We're just going to go through this very quickly because time is running away with us. So we have a win to talk about. So Wales under-20s beat Scotland under-20s 31-21 down in a very windy cap on Friday night. Various tries. including for debutant Will Cuts, who the abundance of cuts from the line, cuts through the line jokes that I saw over Twitter over the weekend was excellent. Yeah, I thought it was a very good game. Nick, you are our sort of our under 20s guy. What did you make of the game?
Well, I think they responded to the challenge we laid down last week, really, didn't we? We said they'd had two heartbreaking losses, and they needed to respond with a win against a team we probably were favourites to beat. And I think they did it. I thought, 4-3. They played well. I thought Dion Gwynn leads that team really well. Aberystwyth's finest. Thomas Howe looks an absolute excellent prospect. He's surely earmarked for the very top. But I was also impressed with the young Scarlet tight head, Jack Pritchard. Thought he did carried well. He scrummaged really well. And a lad I hadn't heard an awful lot about, I think he's at Bristol Bears, Oshan Williams, the second row.
Yeah.
He's been really impressive. But needs to fill out a little bit, I think, to be truly effective in men's rugby, for post-20s, as Luke Evans actually has done. But yeah, really good win, and it sets up the rest of the under-20 Six Nations really well. Hard game, obviously, after Ireland had an impressive win over England, but we should be going over out there confident and hopefully one or two back. I think so. Yeah, really looking forward to the rest of the 20 season. How do you guys see it?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a microcosm of Welsh rugby, whereas the starting side for that team is really good, and they handle those conditions really well, and they outmuscle Scotland a lot, and then as the subs started dripping through, we sort of it tailed off quite suddenly, but we did enough to hold on, which is handy. Yeah, I think you're right. Dion Gwynn is absolutely fantastic, and we should say Oshan Williams second row, not to be confused with Oshan Williams, the blindside flanker,
Yeah,
who started the first two games. So I
all the other centres might be back. Oshan, Darwin,
Darwin Lewis, yeah, who's already had some. No, yeah, he's been training with the first team at Cardiff. I don't think he's had a game yet.
No,
So I think that was Elijah Evans, which
yeah,
it's quite good that we've got quite a nice chain of 13s coming through. So if they actually can come through, seems like that is a problem position for Cardiff and Wales and in general, that would be nice. Stefan Manuel for me as well is proving that when he reaches maturity, he could be that triple threat 12 that we want. Someone who is very comfortable on with distributing and kicking, and can actually also bust a gain line. So,
and he's
really
quick. Did you see that one when he ran back?
Oh, he's so quick. Yeah, he is, and the pace is excellent. Carwyn Leggett-Jones continues to show that he is in talent, but he is definitely a rough diamond. Again, probably trying a few things he probably shouldn't, but also at the same time, it's you kind of want to go. Well, I'd rather he does this now in the under-20s than like a senior debut or something like that, or like it's a URC match.
And I think the thing to remember with him is I was like, he's just turned 18. Like, I think he could still technically play for the under 18. So, like,
I said you've had both him and Tom Howe have had to get permission from school to miss time off school. So,
and you're starting, yeah.
What I would say is, for anyone who wants to rush them through, is let's give them the under-20s. All right, yeah, maybe bring them in for the regional sides more, but let's make the use of the under-20s as a development tool and let them get every last drop out of it.
Yeah,
especially at fly half.
I think anywhere, to be honest. I think fly half. I mean, I think a lot of these like key positions. I think the longer you can give them to learn before they have to get in the big. So make them as good as they possibly can be before you dump them into Welsh rugby in general.
The shit show.
Dan, anything you want to add on to this?
No, I think you've all summed it up nicely. The Carwyn Leggett-Jones thing is interesting. I think I'd rather have to rein him in than, coax a little bit of flair out of him. So, good on him. I personally, I think he's got a bright future in the game. Just needs the right coaching.
Yeah.
Tom Bowen was good again for me. You can tell that he's been playing senior rugby every game that he's played in at 20s levels. He seems like cut above in reality for me. And I just thought there was a good performance. We hang on in there a little bit towards the end, like you said, with changes and whatnot. But, apparently we haven't got enough talent in Wales. And arguably we could be 3 from 3 now. A couple of other things went over.
The same. So I'd like to point out the same sort of people who've been saying, "Oh yeah, Wales definitely can't we haven't got the players to do for 3 professional teams." Are currently saying, how do we talking about how we maximise the opportunity for our under 20s players at senior rugby. So
Yeah. And the reality is, lots of those boys in the 20 squad are playing over the bridge as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
So,
I think
ultimately,
actually it's a slightly lower mix than the senior team at the moment. There's still a lot of key ones. Like I
Mm.
know there's
Well,
quite a few.
captain being one of them, yeah.
Yeah, can't be one of them. But
And I thought he was outstanding on the weekend. And I brought this up in our group. I go, at what point what didn't the Scarlets do to retain him?
Mm.
I don't get it. What? Because surely we should be in a position whereby if it's education they want, we should be. We're not on top of these things, are we? And this is
Yeah.
everything that we go back to. The talent's clearly there, but the pathway's not. So, if it was education that they wanted or facilities or whatever it is, then, these are the things that are laying us down at the moment. Why these boys are not currently backfilling, our regional squads, but they're off
Mm.
playing for Gloucester
Mm.
and such like. So yeah, but no, good on them. I thought they were outstanding on the weekend, and they deserved a win after the last 2 weeks. So
Mm.
Yeah.
well done, boys.
and finishing up the rugby that happened this weekend. So we move on to sort of the club game. Hattie, our updates on Gwalia and Brython. I believe you're very happy.
I am very happy indeed as a Brython fan. So just before the weekend, we have the Wales extended training squad for the Six Nations. Um, it is the extended squad, so there's going to be players in here that don't make it, but there's a fair few of the sort of last year's under 20s and even under 18s who are coming through, who've been playing for Gwalia and Brython, which is really great to see. Um, Interesting bit of news is that Alicia and Jazz have both changed their surnames to Joyce, so they are no longer Butchers Joyce or Joyce Butchers, they are just Joyce. Um, Also saw who else is in there that's a little bit interesting. Oh yeah, we've got Meg Davey from Loughborough Lightning, and we've also got Kendall Wardby from Loughborough Lightning. So Meg is a scrum half. Kendall can play prop or back row. They are two people none of us had any idea were Wales qualified, but they are both starting in the PWR. And are now hopefully coming through. So that's very exciting. Interesting is that this year, Rachel Taylor, former Wales back rower, former Wales head coach actually, is coaching at Loughborough Lightning. So it is kind of interesting that's come through at this time. Um, we've got the Serens in there, both of them. We've got Nikita Prothero, who's been playing really, really well at Gwalia as well in that squad. So it's a very good squad. No captain was announced in that squad as well, interestingly enough. Anyway, on to Brython and Gwalia. Do you want me to start bad and go good, or start good and go bad?
Um, Good then bad, because I do have a question about
Good then bad.
the
Okay.
bad.
Okay. So if we start with the good, we've got Brython. So they've had 3 wins on the bounce. So if we cover the last 4 games, they lost the first one, won the last 3, including at the weekend, history was made. History. The Wolfhounds have only ever lost 1 game, which was against the Clovers in this is their 3rd season. They have lost 1 game, and they also drew a game against Edinburgh in their first year. They've been unbeaten this season. They previously beat us 69-0 in January, and we beat them 12-0 at the park at the weekend. Horrendous conditions. It was literally raining cats and dogs. It was awful. But we had a really, really good squad. Stella Orin, the Serens, so Singleton, and Lockwood were both incredible. One plays on the wing, one plays at 9, but they both have played 9, so they tend to like swap off with each other at 9 and 11, which is really interesting. And it's like developing, and it's fascinating, but it's so good, and it allows you to play so quickly. Georgia Iono was also incredible. She's played her last 2 games. She's another one where she's just turned 18, has been allowed to play senior rugby. And then also Kate Williams. So she was co-captain at the World Cup. She came over. She was playing a bit of 7, which she hasn't done in a while. used to play for Gwalia actually, which is interesting. So she added, you could tell there was a bit more leadership there. I'm not sold on Ashley Beck still. I will still say that. Um, but 3 wins from three, I'm happy with. Then for Gwalia, they have had in the last 4 games, they've had a win and 3 losses, but 2 of those were against Irish sides. This weekend it was a really, really tough loss against Glasgow. I don't think anyone really expected them to lose to Glasgow, so that is quite upsetting. However, they do have a really weakened squad. Some key players like Maisie Davis and Sean Jones have been recalled to the PWR because that is back in session. So you can kind of see there where some of their really, really strong players have gone. But I do have some insider gossip. Ooh. So apparently from next season, there's going to be some big changes in how the teams train. And also, I'm not going to say the dreaded F word, but the dreaded F word is involved there. And Sean Lynn seems to be more involved, and he was actually at the Gwalia game this weekend watching the players, and I believe he's also been at some Brython games as well. But yeah, 2 more games till the knockouts. Brython away to Glasgow this weekend, and Gwalia are at home to the Wolfhounds, who will probably go out pretty hard. And then a derby at the park on the 8th of March.
Nice.
So excellent stuff. So yeah, if you feel like popping along, I think I think the Dragons handle the Gwalia home game tickets at
Yeah.
Ustreg, and obviously Scarlets for all the Brython.
Yeah, you can
Brython action.
also, if you go to the Celtic Challenge website, it has all the links there.
Excellent stuff. Right. So as I alluded to earlier, URC is back in action for 1 week for 1 round only. Yeah,
Makes so
I could
much
just see in Dan's head
sense.
there. He's going 1 round only, one
Well,
round only.
bit crazy, really, isn't it? I know it's the calendar and
Pointless.
whatnot, but
Do you know what I think they should use this weekend for?
URC sevens tournament.
No, although that does sound fun. I was going to say you should have it as like set aside as the weekend in case any games get cancelled. Does that not make more sense?
as in to play, like, so the Scarlets could play
Yeah,
that. Was it
It,
Ulster or somewhere they didn't
Yeah.
get to or whatever?
Connacht.
yeah,
Can't, yeah.
yeah, can't, yeah. That makes more sense to me than having it as an actual scheduled game.
Yeah,
Are we
I
all
think
in
it's the
action this
congested.
weekend?
Hmm.
Pardon?
Are we all in action this weekend?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
we're
Yeah,
all in action. So I said we'll just do quick previews. So for each of our teams, it's not a lot to say because it's purely going to depend. I think a lot of it's going to depend on how all sides are. So first up, thanks to the moved kickoff time, Cardiff are hosting Leinster Friday night at 7 o'clock. So just remember that's 7, not our usual 7:45 slot. So yeah, so for this one, I think Ben Thomas coming back is going to be huge for Cardiff. I know we've got some worries at tight head in the pack where you've got Having Sebastian really is our only senior one, although Azarati seems to be back in training, although it looks like he's targeting South Africa tour, not this game. Leinster apparently have no loose heads, so it sounds like they're going to be calling up from the AIL, which might at least help us in that state because they'll still have like Zaki Snyman and a certain Rico Ioane at
Oh,
13.
who were they?
I haven't heard of him.
Yeah, I mean, as long as if they can't get the ball, if they can't get the platform, then my thing. So 2 years ago, this fixture we won, and this, quite famously. So I feel not confident, but I can see us having a win. I think the way Cornel Van Zaal's got us with, these sort of gritty games of thing, and with Ben Thomas back, it makes our attack work. It just does. We'll have Captain Belcher back as well. So let's help the line. Yeah, and Mason Grady. So at least we've got some actual punch in our outside backs, which would be helpful. Again, I mean, it just depends what Leinster manage to throw out because even when they're completely depleted by oil and call-ups, they still somehow manage to have an international quality pack and back line. So that's it for that one. And moving on, so also on Friday, but at the 7:45 kickoff is Edinburgh versus Scarlets. So Hattie up at the Hive.
Yeah, we don't have a fly half.
Yeah, you do.
No, we don't.
You've Carwyn Leggett Jones.
Yeah, but
The under 20s will come back. This is part of the deal they have with the clubs. So Whether or not that's the best choice, I don't know,
Yeah,
but
I
it's
don't
better
know
than
if
you and Nicholas.
I don't. It's literally like we've got a guy who I don't know why he's still allowed on the pitch, and we've got a guy who is barely allowed on the pitch because of his age and has also played 3 age grade internationals over the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I don't know. We do have Josh and Tommy coming back, so I think especially Tommy's probably going to be pretty cheesed off that he's not played a lot.
Hmm.
And at least we've got leadership from Josh. Edinburgh, they are better at home than they are away, but it's also Edinburgh. So who knows what they're going to do? But again, that comes down to how many players have had released because a lot of Edinburgh players in the Scotland squad haven't really been playing. It's very wishy-washy. I don't know what's going to happen. It's a bit of a bun fight from the bottom of the table.
Just a quick point on that. Why are the 20s allowed to be released then? Why is their load management not as important as the senior internationals that have played 3 games in a row?
I think it's just, I'm guessing, because in theory the senior internationals tend to have played more games, whereas the under 20s, within the captain structures, they're not playing as regularly. I mean, maybe someone like Tom Bowen, they might try and do load management because he's been playing week in, week
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Whereas,
Okay.
but like Tom Cottle's had a few Premiership games, which is, I'm guessing, is seen as a lower, isn't as a high intensity.
Further down the
Yeah,
pecking
but
order, and they're younger. These kids can just roll out of bed and play every day, can't they?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't
Go
know.
on,
I remember those days.
come on,
I can't bend
go on.
over to
Look
do
at
my
us. I
laces
mean,
up
I'm
now.
not so much Hattie, but us three. We watch an 80-minute game of rugby and we can't get out of bed the next morning. Although
Absolutely
some of
not.
that's the drink.
Quite right. Yeah, well, yeah, it is. But
I don't know.
no, it's opportunity for Carwyn Leggett-Jones, mind.
Yeah,
If he is going
I'm
to be
in two minds
starting.
about it. I think, if he has that start, and especially, if we are, I really don't want it to be a big Sammy injury. But if he is out injured, then the Wonder Kid really is our only hope. But at the same time, I do kind of want him to be managed in terms of like he is literally freshly 18. It's his first proper season of senior rugby. Do I want him to be pushed that hard?
The one thing
Probably.
I would say that would be helpful is we always talk about how these youngsters they need to be drip fed in next to seasoned international, seasoned players, and I don't think you're getting a better player to have inside you in the URC at the moment than Gareth Davis, at least from a
Yeah,
Welsh perspective.
yeah,
So that I imagine I imagine Cowdor is going to take an awful lot of the responsibilities off of him just to help.
yeah,
Hey,
And
and you
probably
know,
two good centres out,
Yeah,
experienced centres now in Johnny Williams and Joe
you-
Roberts outside
yeah.
him.
and do you know what else? He's not going to be struggling for a date for prom, is he?
Oh, he's gonna
It's
have.
going to be It's going to be yeah. Gonna be poking him away with a sharp stick.
18-year-old me hates him.
Yeah.
Right, moving on. So next up is your Dragons hosting Benetton at 5:30 on Saturday. How do we think that's going to go?
Yeah, well, first things first, I think I'm pretty sure if you want a ticket, you're gonna have to get hot. You're gonna have to get skates on because there are very few of them left. They were like rocking
Mm.
horse doo doo last going off. It's going to be a pretty much sold out parade by the looks of it, which is excellent news. Shows how long we haven't had rugby for down there, I suppose. And as I alluded to earlier on, I suppose the Dragons' main issue is um, no tight. The tight dead's going to be potentially going to be a struggle for us, depending on where Dylan Lewis and Chrissy Coleman are. Obviously, the other two losses will be Ben Carter and Wainwright. Wainwright I think would slot into any team in the URC at the moment when he's on fire, making gain line all the time. Nevertheless, we are fortunate in a weird way. I wanted more representation, but it comes to games like this, you go, we are actually only two internationals down, which is good news for us. I'm assuming someone like Seb Davis will partner, a Levi Douglas in the second row, which is good for us. And let's not forget, we still got the likes of Thomas Young, etc., and Harry Beddle to call upon in the back row. So, there's plenty of firepower there. The tight end situation does bother me slightly. And on the flip side, I'm assuming Bennett and there's a large quantity of those going to be on rest periods due to the fact that they make up, well, it could work entirely in our favour. Does anyone know how many Benetton have got back?
I
I haven't seen
haven't
anything yet.
seen anything. I don't think there'd be many because
I
pretty
wouldn't have
much
thought there'd be
the
many.
ones who are called up play, and I don't
Yeah.
think they tend
And
they
Exactly.
it's a
don't
lot of
tend
better
to release them.
forwards.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So in theory, it couldn't be a better time to play Benetton, could it?
No.
Of all the teams to play, this would be the one that you may pick because they're likely to be underpowered. So yeah, fingers crossed. And if we continue playing the way that we've played in recent weeks, then I'm confident.
Yeah,
I'm not gone
absolutely.
with you, Dan.
Yep. And then finishing up the round at 7:45 on Saturday. Nick, your beloved Ospreys are hosting Ulster.
Yeah.
A resurgent Ulster who's seen quite a lot of representation in the island side, playing very well.
Mm-hmm.
How,
Yeah,
how do you know?
gone 49th, and again, we've got to get something from really. Tandy, thankfully, has released the players who were Ospreys who haven't featured much on. So we've got Boy Mocking, probably most importantly, Rupert Morgan Williams back, Harry Deves and Gareth Thomas. So they're going to get some much needed game time. We've got, our strength is probably, up there with regards to the front five. So we should be able to match them. Although they've got a few back as well. I think Cormac, Zutu, Pothwaite and Ward are back. And they've still got some quality as well. And they got, Henderson still a quality block. Bell is exceptional if he if he gets ahead up a steam, as Lou said. I think it'll be a
Angus Bell.
close. Bell. I think it'll be a close, edgy game on what's going to be a heavy pitch because of all the rain we've had. Hopefully, a win for home side. Though I can't say I'm confident. And part of that as well is with what's going on as well. It's not easy for the players, but yeah, it should be a good game. Looking forward to it.
Right. And so I think that's for that. So just so you know, in terms of broadcast, as far as the URC app's telling me, all of them are on Premier Sports as per, and the Cardiff game is on S4C, presumably because S4C can be bothered moving the equipment from the Six Nations games.
They don't have to move anywhere, do they? Just keep the cameras in place.
Yeah, exactly. Keep them permanently, and then they can start filming random rags games as well. That'd be great. So we move on to predictions. I'll kick off with myself now. So we'll just quickly get through these before we sign off for the night. So for Cardiff Leinster, I've gone Cardiff by 5. I'm just backing the boys now because they seem to nearly now, 60% of the time they they make me happy every time. Edinburgh, I've gone for a narrow 3-point win. I think again with the issues of the young 10, a couple of key players still out for you guys. Benetton by 3, just again it's that tight head issue for me. I think, and then I think Ospreys by 4. It's a really random number to win by, but it's also an Ospreys number to win by. Because whenever I go for like a nice thing like a 3 or a 5, Ospreys always end up going for like 4 or 6. So I've just gone for that. I think Brewery Field's going to be a big fan. I don't think it's be particularly high scoring.
No.
I don't think it'd be a high scoring game because of the pitch, but I think Ospreys should be able to hold out. I think they're one of the best packs of that, and I think Ulster are missing a few too many players who make that team work really well. So I think we'll go alphabetically next, which would be Dan.
Okay, so I'm going to go Cardiff by 7. I think it's a good time to play Leinster as well, isn't it? I don't know what they've had released back, but it's normally a good time to play Leinster with everything that they've got out. I'm going to go Dragons by 10. Yeah, the tight head issue is a problem, but if Dylan Lewis is available, we can get a foothold in the game. I think we got enough to get over the line against Benetton. So Dragons by 10 there. Ospreys by 6. And who have I missed out? The Scarlets. Scarlets away. Scarlets' problem for me is the fly half issue. Edinburgh by 5.
Cool.
It's away from home, and yeah.
Next on the roster is Hattie.
I'm gonna go Cardiff by 2. I'm gonna back the boys, and I'm gonna say Scarlets by 3. And then I'm gonna say Dragons by 8.
Oh, yes.
And the only thing I can think of for the Ospreys versus Ulster is mud. Um, so Ospreys by 3.
And last by certainly means not least, Nick.
I'll go Leinster by 3.
Boo.
I did honestly have this written down, but I'm going Dragons by 10 too. I'm going Edinburgh by 4 and Ospreys by 2.
I think mud's gonna be the real winner this weekend.
Well, we've had a bit of rain, have we? I haven't noticed.
Did you? I don't know if any of you actually did see the Brython game at the weekend. If you haven't, please go look at the
Well, it was
highlights.
absolutely.
Or, do you know the game that was really muddy this weekend was Sale Sharks versus Harlequins women?
Oh yeah, I saw some pictures from that. It's absolute
It was
dogs dinner.
vile. Yeah,
If you
poor
want a
Abby
little bit
Fleming.
of if you want to feel like it's summer though, Super Rugby's just started, and just flick the TV over to, I don't know, like the Force against the Blues or whatever it is, and it's nearly 40 degrees and there's not a cloud in the sky. Makes you feel really nice.
Yeah, but then
And
you
then
then you watch a Drua home game and you wonder why we're moaning about the rain.
Oh, I know. There you go.
Charlie's
So release.
Heart,
calculating.
heart,
Sorry. I've just found a thinger. So these are players who released back to Ireland. So you've got Harry Byrne, who's gone back to Leinster. I think that's the only ones. Nathan Doak. Oh, that's a getting one for you.
yeah,
So
dope
Nathan Doak's
going
gone
back.
back.
Yeah,
Cormac is a Chuku as well. Yeah, Michael Milne's back. So a lot of them are. Tom Stewart as well for Ulster. Yeah, and Brynwood. Yeah, so yeah, I think we've gotten off quite likely, Nick. To be fair, I mean Nick Doak is a very good player. So I think watch out. So I think watching him versus Morgan Williams is gonna be quite fun in
But
terms of a
what?
box kicking nines thing.
But then does it not worry you all that Ireland are keeping so many players in?
No, because it's what they always do.
Yeah,
It's
but
Farrell's very much like Gatland in that respect, that he keeps lots. And I mean, I feel like Farrell's almost doing the same thing as Tandy and sort of stumbling into his best team at the moment with injuries. Because it looks like we don't have to worry about James Lowe's smug face,
no.
which I feel really mean saying because it looks like he is out for the rest of the tournament and possibly towards
What a
right towards the end
shame.
of the season. But also, I just can't, I hate looking at his face. He's fantastic. I'm sure I'd like him a lot more if he was Welsh, but I can't. As he plays for Ireland, I cannot stand him.
And
Um,
Leinster. What a combination.
I mean, it's just like finding out. It's like being given warm ice cream and finding out it's mushroom flavored. There we go. We've got a new sticker for the WhatsApp group now. Thanks, Hattie.
yeah.
Right, on that very bizarre note, I think it's definitely time to call it a night, as I've definitely gone a bit loopy and it's very warm in this room. Thank you, Hattie. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Nick, for joining me, and thank you all very much for listening. Nosta.
That's
That's
that.
that.
Nossa.